Hey there, welcome back to our Harkla YouTube channel. We are so happy to have you here today. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Jessica. We're the Certified Occupational Therapy Assistants with Harkla. And today we're going to answer 3 questions that we got in YouTube comments about primitive reflexes.
Okay, first question. Is retaining the STNR or symmetrical tonic neck reflex more common with oral ties like tongue ties?
Interesting question.
That is a great question. I feel like we could go really deep into oral ties, or we could just kind of keep it more PG? Not really PG. I have a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts.
Layman's terms.
Layman's terms. Yeah. You know, if we're going to, I don't know if we want to go deep. Okay, how are we going to answer this question?
Okay, first of all, we have other YouTube videos and podcast episodes on the STNR, which is the symmetrical tonic neck reflex, as well as podcast episodes on tethered oral tissues, where we explain what they are, what happens, and what to do about it. So my thought with this question is that I don't think one causes the other necessarily. I don't know that we would ever be able to find the research to support that, but we do see connections between retained primitive reflexes in general and tethered oral tissues. That's my answer in PG terms.
In PG terms. Yeah, and so my thought is one of the activities that we do to test for the STNR is to do cat-cows, right? So you're on your hands and your knees and you're looking up to the sky, and then you're looking down at your knees and arching your back. For individuals with really tight tongue ties and oral tissues, extending the neck is going to be really difficult when you have something like a tongue tie. For me personally, I noticed that. So I don't know exactly, is it the correlation, causation, that whole conversation? Like Jessica mentioned, there's definitely some sort of a connection. I haven't found any research on it. You haven't found any specific research, but there is something there. So I think you're onto something. But if you are working with a child, or you have a child, or your own personal situation, if you are noticing that it's really difficult to do that cat-cow position, I would, look into orofacial malfunctional therapy and just, rule it out and talk about that with a professional in that industry. So great question. I like that.
All right, question number 2. How do you test adults for retained primitive reflexes?
Great question. I personally test them the same way that I test the children that I work with or that I've worked with in the past. I actually have tested a friend's reflexes. He works in, a first responder type situation, and I have literally never seen a Moro Reflex so present in an adult before. So yeah, I do it the same way.
Yeah, we've tested all of our coworkers at Harkla for their primitive reflexes as well, and we do it the exact same way that we teach in our primitive reflex digital course for children. Going along with this question, do you use the same exercises and activities to integrate primitive reflexes in adults? And I would say yes as well.
I think the only thing to be aware of when you are using these activities and these tests for adults is there's more, there's more interference with adult reflexes with things like back pain, weight differences, there's past trauma. Like, adults just have more
going
depth.
on.
Yes. So there's those types of things that we have to look for. Like, can they not do the STNR test because they have a tongue tie, or because they have poor posture, or because they're overweight? Things like that you have to look into and kind of put your clinical goggles on and see.
Sure. But we do have a couple of adults going through our primitive reflex digital course who are doing the exercises themselves, and they've noticed huge improvements. So
we do have a podcast episode as well that we will link.
Yeah, there you go.
All the things. Great question. These are good questions. Last question is, I just realized I might still have my Moro Reflex and I'm a grown-up, late 20s. Is that even possible? If so, is there a way for me to reliably test this or get it tested?
Well, going off of Question number 2, yes, it's absolutely possible. Keeping in mind, like Rachel mentioned, that adults have more, what did you say, layers?
Interference?
More layers, interference,
Yeah.
more going on, right?
Yeah.
So an adult with a retained Moro reflex could be resultant from either retained primitive reflexes that never integrated in childhood, or that the reflex came back due to trauma.
Yeah, so I think there is definitely hope for you to test these. Unfortunately, I feel like there isn't like a one-stop clinic that you can go to get your reflexes tested as an
For
adult.
adults, yeah.
For kids, you know, we would go to like a pediatric OT clinic. You know, some chiropractors do it, so that could be something to look into.
Some vision therapists do it.
Yeah. So, you know, we have some videos that kind of give you an idea if your reflexes are integrated or not. But our course teaches you how to do it. You just can't test it on yourself. So you'd have to have someone else doing the test with you.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want you to know what the test is, because I feel like that can kind of skew some of the results too.
You can use the checklist that's in the course as well. We have the checklist that you can go through and mark down and see if you likely have the retained Moro reflex based on the signs and the symptoms. So that's helpful too.
Yeah. Okay, hopefully that helps. Hopefully that makes sense. Great questions. Keep them coming. If you have any additional questions on this topic, then put them in the comments below.
Or we have a link in the description and you can put your question there and it goes to a form where we can look at the form and then answer your questions later. Or in the comments, whatever is easier.
Whatever you want to do. We're happy to answer your questions. We love talking about primitive reflexes and just getting people on board and looking at these underlying challenges that could be impacting you.
If you liked this video, make sure you share it with someone, make sure you click the like button, and subscribe to the Harkla YouTube channel.
And like we mentioned, we do have a podcast as well. It's All Things Sensory by Harkla, so make sure you are listening there as well.
And follow us on Instagram. We're at Harkla_family, as well as at All Things Sensory Podcast.
And with that, we'll plan on seeing you next Tuesday. Welcome back to our YouTube take 2. Hey there, welcome back. Sorry, I shouldn't touch my microphone. Extending the neck is...
I was like snorting when you started again.